Hi everyone, it's Karen here, and I'm really excited for this new series of videos that I'm doing coming up in the next few weeks, where I'll be doing favorite 10 things or different hacks, 10 hacks, 10 everything. I just decided to take 10 and do lists of things that I thought were important to share with you on my YouTube channel and my blog, and just ideas that you make your life easier in terms of if you're doing art or mixed media or crafting or anything like that. And today the one I want to share is this following. It's 10 top mistakes people believe about mixed media art. So the 10 top mistakes, and it's not what you think. It's not mistakes that you make in mixed media, but it's the perception that people have about mixed media. And I just want to talk about them and really clear things up for everybody who's a beginner or non-beginner who maybe was too afraid to experiment beyond what they're doing right now. So number one, trying to be perfect or wanting your project to be perfect. And I do have a guide right here that because I wrote all 10 of them out. So if I'm looking down, it's because I'm just reading out the topic so I don't forget, because my memory sometimes fails me. So trying to be perfect. I tell my students all the time, mixed media is not about perfection. You do not have to be perfect. Your project doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be how you try it and how much you experiment on, and you can always fix anything you don't think you like. You can take off mediums, you can add mediums, you can hide things with gesso. You can basically just want to. The most important thing I want to convey to people is that you should not be afraid of making mistakes, because mistakes are not what you think are. That leaves me to number two. Not being afraid to make mistakes. So yeah, most people want to be perfect in their things, so they're so afraid to making those mistakes. But there is really no mistakes in mixed media, because mixed media, it's all about new opportunities. So if you make a mistake, and trust me, I've made lots of mistakes, what you do is you go ahead and you take that and you make it into something even more amazing. Every mistake is an opportunity for something grander, for something amazing, for something that will just like come out even better. Sometimes every time I've made a mistake or I've spilled something on myself, sometimes I spilled a whole tub of things on me, like not on me, on my project, and I've been able to fix it and make it better. Or many times I've tried to do something and the experimenting didn't come out the way I thought it was going to come out, and yes, that's a mistake, but you know what, the final project came out even better than I thought. So that's something that it's really important. Don't be afraid to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect. And number two, you don't need to worry about making mistakes, because mistakes are just another way of an opportunity to create something greater. Now to number three. Not trying or experimenting with your mediums. You have all these mediums that you buy because you see people like me or other great artists going to YouTube or on their blogs, and you see them experimenting and you really want to try that, and you buy all the products and they just sit on your desk, on your shelf, on your cart, and you just don't know what to do with them because you're too afraid to try. Don't be afraid. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be perfect, right? Goes to number one. And you don't have to worry about making mistakes, because it's just fun to experiment. You get yourself an art journal. If you don't want to do anything crazy on a canvas or anything like that, you take an art journal and you start experimenting with the products and see what formulas work for you and what you like and what type of texture you like. And the more you experiment, all you're doing is you're just ruining. If you do, let's say, make a mistake, then all you are is ruining one little page out of your art journal. There's nothing to worry about, or like it's just a page. You move on, you flip the page over, and you start experimenting again. It's really important to try and experiment and just have fun and not worry so much about what mistakes you might make or what, like just the fact of being perfect. Now it goes to number four. comparing yourself to others and not feeling good enough about what you're doing. Well, we know this from society. We're a society who tends to compare ourselves to others. And I understand that that's something that it's really hard not to do, because we want to be good. We want to be accepted by others. We want to be, told that our work is amazing. And yes, I understand. I'm at fault with that too. But it's really important not to compare yourself to what others are doing. You should really focus on what you're doing and experimenting with your own tools. And I'm not saying not learning from others. Definitely you should look at other videos or projects and learn from people. But then you just go and you have your own kind of style, which brings me to number 5, which is trying to once you experiment, you're going to kind of want to create your own style and not copy somebody else. It's really important to understand this point. Copying somebody else and giving them credit when you're learning and you're starting, that's amazing. It's really important to give credit to those artists that are teaching you. But if you're going to copy and then just pretend that it's yours, that's a no-no. However, it's really important to develop your own style and not compare to what others do. And yes, your style, there's not that many styles out there, so your style will be similar to another, but always you should have your own little twist, your own little thing that is yours. Go on to number 6. Thinking that something is more complicated when it's easy, just like it was in kindergarten. I really tell this to all my students all the time. Mixed media is like cutting and pasting and gluing in kindergarten. It's just putting one layer over another, cutting, putting. It really helps when people understand that, and when they finally come to the classes, because sometimes they're too afraid to even come to the class to try or just experiment, right? But when they come and they see how easy it is, they are like, wow, this is so easy. This is like kindergarten. So really, not thinking that something is as complicated as it is. It's really important to just, be in that, oh, this is not complicated, I can do it. And then you just experiment at home with what you learned. Going to number 7. Being afraid to waste product. I know this is a big one. We're on a tight budget. There's so many products out there. We buy them and then we're like, oh, we are so afraid of wasting. Well, guess what? You'll be surprised how little you use when you're doing mixed media. Really, to cover like a page, or let's say an art journal page, or even a layout page with gesso, clear gesso or white gesso, you're really only using like a dollop, like almost like the size, maybe a little bit, maybe 2/4 worth. You don't need that much. Even with paste, when you're going through stencils, you can use it and then save it. You're really not using that much product, and it does last a long time. And it's really important to just stop being afraid of so many things, not being afraid of wasting product. I understand budget is difficult, so go and buy things when they're on sale, but experimenting and trying, and yeah, maybe sometimes we might use something and it might not come out the way you want it, and you feel like it's a wasted product, but it's really not wasted because you experimented and tried that, and the opportunity came and you were able to see that maybe that formula with those products didn't work, and that's an experiment you're not going to do again. And now you know that you don't have to use it that way and those products that way, and then you'll be able to move forward and not waste the product from then on. So a mistake like that, let's say that's a mistake, which really is not, because you're experimenting and you're learning how to experiment with the product. Any mistake that you're making or any product that you're wasting, it's really just an opportunity to learn about that product. Now let's go to number 9. Believing that taking a class or watching a video tutorial is not for you, as it might show that you're not good enough if you're taking that class or if you're taking a tutorial. Well, I really want to say that all of us start somewhere. I took a class from Finn when I was Finnabear, when I was like a few years ago, and I took classes from many different people, Donna Downey, and different people that I thought could teach me something. I nowadays look at YouTube videos to learn things. Every place I go, I learn something. So it doesn't really matter what level of art or mixed media or crafting you are, there's always something to learn, something that somebody else can teach you, and feeling that by watching them or by going to a class you might not be as good as them. It really is important to realize that that's not really the case, that you're learning from their experiences. So that's really important. Now let's go to number 9, which is something that I already touched upon, but it's really important to do. It's not giving credit where credit is due. It's really important. A lot of artists get really offended when somebody goes and does something that is so similar to their style, and then they don't say that they were inspired by them. The person doesn't say anything that she was inspired or he was inspired by them. And I'm not talking about technique. You can be inspired by the technique and still give credit, or you can do a whole project similar to what the other person did or the same, and still you need to give credit. It's really important. It makes people that work so hard to teach those techniques or teach those projects, makes them feel really, really, really good. And finally, number 10. And this is the most important one: not believing in yourself and your creativity. It's really important that you believe in yourself. That's a mistake that most people do, is that they just don't believe. They just think that everybody else is better than them. Believing in yourself is the most important thing. Once you start believing in yourself and you start developing your own style and you start learning from others and giving credit to them, which is really important. And once you're not afraid to waste product and make mistakes and not try to be perfect, which goes back to all the points that I made before. Once you start believing in yourself, which is the top thing that you have to do, the most important thing, once you do that, then all the other ones are going to just fall into place. Well, you can't get rid of me that fast. I know I finished my 10 most common mistakes people make about mixed media, but I have to come back for just one more. Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little bit, and it really wasn't 10 mistakes that you could make about mixed media. It's 11, and I apologize. I had to come back and say this last one, which was really, really important, that I totally forgot about, and that is talking about patience. And I am not the best person to talk about this because I'm very impatient when I have to let things dry, and I'm very impatient when I want things to come out the right way or how I want them, or my idea to come out. And patience plays a big part in this. You have to be patient with mixed media. Number 1, patience comes into effect when you are trying to create something, but you don't know how to, don't know the ropes of mixed media. You don't know how to combine certain things, and you're learning still. Patience will come, like the time will tell how much you're going to learn, and depending on how much you experiment. So it's really, really important to just have patience and continue trying and continue exploring and experimenting, because eventually, once a bunch of time passes, you will actually be able to see your progress, and you'll see how amazing having that patience. There's also the patience of waiting until something dries. It's really, really annoying just sitting there and waiting, and I hate doing it, but sometimes I just have to walk away, because even if I'm using my heat tool to dry something, it doesn't dry it completely. In some mediums, it's better if you don't let them dry and you let them air dry. So sometimes I literally have to walk away, do something else, and be patient, and then come back to my project when it's dry, and then I get the best results. So patience comes in 2 different ways, many different ways as well, probably, regarding mixed media. So to summarize my 10 most common mistakes that people make about mixed media, plus 1, because it's technically 11. The most common ones to summarize are, and not in a particular order because I don't have them in order at all: trying to be perfect or wanting your project to be perfect. A big no, you don't want to be perfect. You have to just try, which leads to number 2, not trying or experimenting. Or number 3, being afraid to make mistakes. Number 4, comparing yourself to others or not feeling good enough about yourself. Number 5, pretending that to be somebody else and doing projects like them. Number 6, thinking that something is complicated when it's just really easy. Number 7, being afraid to waste product. Number 8, not giving credit where credit is due to another artist. Number 9, believing that taking a class or watching a video is a big mistake and it's not for you because it makes you look as if you're not good enough. Number 10, not believing in yourself and in your creativity. And number 11, not having enough patience to do everything. And I just think this is like just amazing. I love these, and I really want you to try and just tell me what you think, and if you can come up with any other ones that you think are something that I should talk about, just leave me a comment in my video and I'll just maybe have a second round about these most common mistakes that people believe about mixed media. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for my next video on another 10 lists that I create. Bye!